I think Keir Starmer's had a difficulty with defence, because defence was always seen as a traditionally conservative thing. It was like one of the Conservative Party ethos, really. It was one of their big priorities. And he's been really keen to make sure that that slightly comes under the Labour wing, because under Jeremy Corbyn's premiership, it was absolutely out of the question. This was something that Jeremy Corbyn was so not interested in, / was probably against in many ways. So I think Keir Starmer's trying to slowly pull that into Labour territory. But the pressure is just definitely going to be on about how much money he commits to it.
And Keir Starmer's first foreign trip as Prime Minister to the NATO leaders summit in Washington, D.C. The pressure for him to increase defence spending quickly to 2.5% of GDP has been met by him with the insistence that his commitment is cast iron. Kate, does it matter if Keir Starmer doesn't actually give a date to the 2.5% of GDP, which he says is a cast iron guarantee?
I think it does matter, actually. I mean, off he is at his first international summit. It's NATO. Things don't get bigger than this on a world stage. But it's overshadowed by this big row over when he's going to hit 2.5. I mean, giving a cast iron pledge to hit an amount of spending without a timeline is really no kind of cast iron pledge at all, is it?
Well, is it any more or any less firm than the promise to do it by 2030, which we got from the Conservatives?
Well, I mean, yeah, you can argue that they did put the date on it, which makes it seem a bit firmer. But either way, that's still, over 5 years away. So that's still quite a way away. And arguably by then, the circumstances could have totally changed. So I think what people are wanting from Keir Starmer is to either say, look, you're going to do it now, it's going to be a priority, it's going to be one of your main 3 things that you knuckle down on over the next few months when you're starting, or you're not going to bother. And I think they just want some clarity there about when he's planning to do it, and really how high up it is in Labour's priority list. Because I think during the election campaign on both sides, both parties realised it wasn't really a vote winner for lots of people. Yes, lots of people do care about it, but in terms of just securing those votes and trying to get into power, weighing up what really polled high in public opinion, that wasn't one of the things. So I think now that the pressure's turning to Keir Starmer to kind of add some clarity to that.
I guess the thing is with the Labour and Keir Starmer's leadership on things like defence, military spending, is he's been very good at vibes. I'm a different man, we're under new leadership, I'm going to say different stuff to what Jeremy Corbyn said before me. I think now he's in the office of number 10. They've got their own budgets, they've got their own policy agenda. The question really is, what is his priority? You can't just lean on the fact that you're not Jeremy Corbyn anymore. If you say defence is your priority, this is an oft-quoted thing from Pat McFadden, right? No one trusts you with anything if they don't trust you on taxes or defence. So if you're putting it up there with the economy, then you're going to have to cough up the money, I think.
To be fair, though, I think he's also said that what he wants to do is conduct a full review of the military in general.
Oh, no, not another review.
A review.
Those are the dreaded words in politics,
But
aren't they?
I guess looking at, in his defence, that was a bad time to use the word defence, wasn't it? He's probably wants to work out where the money is going within the military and whether that could be better used already before working out how much more money needs to go on it and when. So I think that's probably quite a sensible approach. The issue with that is these reviews always seem to take years. I don't know why every single review that happens in politics never seems to happen over a few weeks. It's always a very lengthy process. But I mean, theoretically, it doesn't sound like a terrible idea to work out what you've got first before pouring more money into it.
But in the end, isn't defence spending one of those things where the nation tends to think it's a good idea till someone says you've got to pay for it?
Yes, well, I mean, that's the problem with all spending, of course, is a good idea until you've got to pay for it. I think the thing is Keir Starmer isn't saying I've got to do a review to see if we need this money. He's saying you do need this money. I'm not disputing that and I'm going to give it to you. But he's not putting a date on when. So it's about the honesty of our political brokers there and about being clear. You can't have it both ways. If you make a pledge, it's got to come with a date. If it doesn't come with a date, it's a pretty shallow pledge. If he had said I'm doing a review to see if they even need the cash, then fine, we're in a whole different ball game. But he's not saying that. I think it's going to, I'm not saying this is number 1 on voters' priorities, but I think it's going to follow him around until he puts the date on it.
Now, what about a sort of Labour's wider attitude to defence? I mean, we've got a new veterans minister, but on the other hand, in the hierarchy, he's more junior. Against that, you can say he's actually been a colonel in the army, so he knows what he's talking about.
Exactly. So we've had for, I think, the last couple of prime ministers, a veterans minister sitting in cabinet. It used to be Johnny Mercer. Labour have taken that out of cabinet. They say it's going to sit under, obviously, John Healey, but they've got, nonetheless, a respected veterans minister. It goes to show, I think, what Keir's trying to do, which is bring expertise into his government in these different departments. And we've seen that also, haven't we, in like prisons and elsewhere. I mean, I think people will applaud the appointment, but I think people will be concerned that he seems to be demoting the status.
No, I think I probably agree with that, to be honest. But I think it definitely is part of Keir Starmer's idea of just having people with on-the-ground experience doing roles where they have experience in their portfolio, and I think that will definitely be welcome. But I think Keir Starmer's had a difficulty with defence, because defence was always seen as a traditionally conservative thing. It was like one of the Conservative Party ethos, really. It was one of their big priorities, and he's been really keen to make sure that that slightly comes under the Labour wing, because under Jeremy Corbyn's premiership it was absolutely out of the question. This was something that Jeremy Corbyn was so not interested in / was probably against in many ways. So I think Keir Starmer's trying to slowly pull that into Labour territory, but the pressure is just definitely going to be on about how much money he commits to it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as I say, I do think the money issue is going to follow him around, but I totally give him that. I mean, he's totally repivoted the party since Corbyn. There's no question about that. He's done a very effective job as wrapping himself up in the flag. He's been to Ukraine. John Healey's been to Ukraine with that trip to Zelensky, the first thing he did in the post. You know, the attitude is there. There's no question about that. The question mark is with the check.
And what do you think he's going to do about the next ambassador?
Oh, so this was actually a good Sun on Sunday story that I see has gone everywhere this week. But so we know, don't we, that they're off to, they need to appoint a new US ambassador. So we read a story saying David Miliband's name is in the frame. We've also heard Peter Mandelson knocked about and some other technocrats.
Cathy Ashton,
etc. The only fact we know is that they're not going to appoint this person until after the inauguration. So we're going to have 6 more months longer of speculation, because the inauguration's on 20th of January next year.
So does that mean that maybe at the same time that we get a new Conservative Party leader, we'll also get a new US ambassador? We're going to be overrun with another set of elections, aren't we?
I guess the thing is, as well, is if it is Trump, as obviously it looks like it will be Trump, do you appoint a different person? You know, can Miliband get into bed with Trump? You know, is he the best person for that? Who knows? Yeah,
this is going to be really difficult as well, because Keir Starmer has a very interesting task ahead of him with the US elections, because clearly a Trump and Starmer unison is going to be quite a bizarre one, really. I mean, it's two people politically who do not sit in the same wing of politics, who don't agree with many things, but are going to have no choice but to work together if Trump does win. So that's going to be a very big hurdle for Starmer to have to navigate, even when that does happen.
Slight spoiler to the story is he could just extend the term of Karen Pierce, which is...
Yeah, I think she gave a speech, I think, recently in the States, didn't she? In which she kind of said, I'm very happy where I am. You know,
I think she actually said she'd had to be dragged
out kicking and screaming. Yeah. Which, you know, anyone that's met Karen Pierce would know that'd be quite funny.
OK, well...